And no! Clear welterweight champion of the world is Paul Makhachev.
Big bag. Oh, it's still right there. Oh, yeah.
When would you like to defend this new world title again?
Woo! Donald Trump, let's go open the White House. I'm coming.
See, now, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam now. I want to see it even more now. Dude, Ilia versus Islam White House. Make it happen, Dana. Make it happen.
I think when we think about the White House, it's almost like, oh, does it have to be America versus the world themed and stuff like that? For you, would you be happy putting a non-American main event on that card?
Yeah, it's not America versus the world. It's what's the best card we can build.
So could Islam end up on the White House?
We're talking about him possibly, GOAT talk here, depending on what he does in his next couple of fights. So it's possible.
With the fight now behind us, it's worth rolling back the clock to see what the MMA world was saying before. Jack Della Maddalena stepped in to face Islam Makhachev. The lead-up was filled with bold takes, mixed predictions, and plenty of uncertainty. Some analysts believe Jack's crisp striking could cause real problems for the champion, while others felt Islam's relentless pressure and grappling strength would be the deciding factor. One of the voices weighing in was Alexander Volkanovski. He argued that the weight change wouldn't affect Islam nearly as much as fans expected, and that Makhachev would adjust to the size difference without much difficulty. Still, he acknowledged that Jack's forward pressure and punching power were dangerous elements that couldn't be ignored. Volkanovski leaned slightly toward Islam having the advantage, but he also suggested that if Jack managed to keep the fight standing for long enough, he had a real shot at shifting the momentum.
Well, I think it is the fact that, because a lot of people, I know you're moving up a division, but you'll be surprised at how well people can deal with that. Like in the training room, they're training with, I guarantee you Islam's training with middleweights, welterweights all the time. So I don't think it's going to be a massive difference for him. It's not like it's something that he cannot handle. I guarantee he can handle it. But in saying that, obviously it is a class above. So someone with the right technique and that little bit stronger may be enough. You know what I mean? So it can play a big factor, but at the same time, not as big as what people...
He pointed out that the chaotic moments, the quick transitions and scrambles would likely play a huge role in how the fight unfolded. In his view, Islam typically thrives in those exchanges, using his timing and experience to come out on top. Because of that, he felt Jack would need to react quicker than he ever had before and stay technically sharp every second. His breakdown suggested a slight advantage for Islam, yet he still made it clear that Jack wasn't out of the fight by any means. If Jack could match the pace in those exchanges, the door was still open for him to surprise everyone.
You know what I mean? So it can play a big factor, but at the same time, not as big as what people think.
Okay, now you've shared the cage with Makhachev twice before. Looking back, is there anything you wish you did differently that you think Jack should do for his upcoming fight against Islam?
Yeah, take the fight on short notice. That'll be the best thing you know. I'm joking. Honestly, it's just we know what Islam's going to want to do. We know what JDM's good at, keeping it on the feet and using that boxing. You know, he's got very, very powerful hands and just got to...
When Kamaru Usman was asked for his prediction, he kept things neutral and avoided choosing a clear favorite. He pointed out that both fighters brought very different but equally dangerous skill sets. Jack's precise boxing against Islam's suffocating grappling. Even so, Usman leaned ever so slightly toward Islam, noting that experience in tough, high-pressure moments often makes the difference at the elite level. He still made it clear that the matchup was razor close and that once the action starts, a single exchange could swing the entire fight either way.
Man, it's a tough one. Who do I think wins? I think both guys present a lot of things that could give each other problems. Now, we got to remember that they're both going in against each other in both southpaws. Jack now has shown a tendency to be able to switch effortlessly and make it look very fluid to where you don't see it. And so that's something that he potentially could have in his back pocket. But they both fight very well in the southpaw position. Now, like we mentioned, he's bigger. He's going to hit a little bit harder because he's used to carrying that just extra weight on him when he throws his punches. But where he has shown a little bit of a weakness is being taken down in the wrestling aspect and kind of controlled. And so that's also primarily an area where Islam has shined. And so that's what's going to make this ultra intriguing here. But
Dustin Poirier also weighed in on the matchup, and he sided with the more predictable choice. In his eyes, Islam had repeatedly shown the discipline and composure needed to control long, drawn-out fights. Because of that, Poirier expected Islam to stay composed, manage the pace, and edge ahead as the rounds went on. He didn't present it as a guaranteed outcome. It was simply the pattern he'd observed over time, based on how Islam had handled pressure in past battles.
Man, this is a tough one, dude. I would think Islam by decision, but if Jack does win, you know, I'm not going to be totally blown away if he lands a shot that hurts Islam or a knee or.
But Poirier didn't rule out the possibility of things going off script. He acknowledged that Jack carried real knockout danger in his punches and knees, and that a single perfectly timed strike could flip the entire fight in an instant. He didn't try to predict what that moment might look like. He simply recognized that fighters with Jack's power always bring an element of unpredictability. Still, even with that threat in the background.
Obviously, if he beats Islam by decision or submits Islam, then I'm going to be blown away. But I got to go with Islam by decision. That's if I was betting on it, that's what I would bet on.
Yeah, that does feel like the right call, but yeah, just seeing all this support for Jack, that's very interesting. A lot of fighters coming out, and
he has everything it takes to pull off this upset. He could do it, but like I said, if I had to make a final decision, I would go Islam.
The MMA guru broke down the matchup by highlighting the danger each fighter brought to the table. He praised Jack's rise, noting how he'd stacked up wins for years, from the local circuits all the way to the UFC, and how that consistency showed his ability to end fights at any moment. But he also pointed out that Islam moving up to welterweight added a major question mark to the whole matchup. In his view, the fight had the potential to swing dramatically in either direction.
I think Makhachev, there's a narrative that Makhachev's ducking Ilia Topuria. But if Makhachev was not fighting Ilia Topuria because he wanted to defend his title against Max Holloway for a BMF belt, maybe I'd say, okay, he's ducking Ilia. He wants an easier matchup against a striker, maybe. But when Makhachev's ducking Ilia Topuria to take on Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight, upper weight class, you ain't ducking. And if you are, that's not a clever duck right there. That's a real dumb duckling. Because Makhachev's moving up to face a dangerous kind of Ilia Topuria, but bigger. Maybe not as dynamic as Ilia is or the star that Ilia is, but if you're talking really tidy boxing and really good takedown defense and sprawls, you're talking JDM and Ilia Topuria in the sport. So
he gave a slight edge to Jack, mainly because Islam was still untested in this weight class and might struggle against someone naturally bigger and stronger. Even so, he didn't treat it as a lock. He made it clear that if Islam managed to dictate the grappling exchanges and impose his usual style.
This is a new test. My take on this fight is that this will be one-sided in either direction. That's my take. I don't think it can be boring. I know it could be, where maybe Makhachev does stall it out, but I think if Makhachev does have an advantage in the grappling, lighter man's skill is something that comes up a lot in MMA. And I think he will be able to use that into a finish. You know, you said about his survivability against Burns, which was crazy because he broke his arm in that fight and still survived some really bad positions. I just think if Makhachev has an advantage, he will press it to a finish in the grappling earlier.
Yep.
But if JDM can shuck those off, he will press to a finish up against the cage because he's used to this weight class, and Makhachev's new to 170. And one thing you don't want to do if you're moving up to a weight class above you is immediately feel that pressure of being backed up in a time before in a division where you could maybe manipulate and have the physical presence over people at lightweight. So I'm leaning towards JDM, but this is a generational fight, and I'm really looking forward to it because fights like this don't come around often.
Bryce Mitchell kept things simple and didn't get bogged down in stats or betting lines. He spoke from instinct, saying he was backing JDM. There wasn't a detailed breakdown, just admiration for Jack's fighting style. Bryce admitted it would be one of the toughest fights Jack has faced. Yet he still favored him because of the way he approaches the fight and imposes his game plan.
Okay, I'm going to go with JDM on that one. And the reason being is because I just love that style. Islam is going to be the hardest fight he's ever had in his life. That's not an understatement. That is an understatement. I don't know.
Israel Adesanya suggested that Jack had the tools to dictate the tempo, land effective strikes, and even potentially secure a finish in the second or third round, while he recognized Islam's elite grappling and overall skill set. Adesanya believed that Jack's solid takedown defense combined with his striking prowess would be enough to keep the fight in his favor.
Yeah, whoop, that's a classic. And then jumps on his back, boom, yeah. And he's got that squeeze though. Look at the squeeze. Look at, like, when he squeezes, look at his back. It's mountains. Yeah, different. Yeah, in this fight, not just because it's Anzac United, I really think that Jack Della Maddalena has the skills to stifle Islam's game and be able to just put it on the feet and knock him out. Might be second round, might be third, but we'll see. Tune in and find out. And also,
Don Hardy viewed Jack Della Maddalena as an up-and-coming talent with a promising future in the division. While he didn't see Jack as invincible, Hardy noted that he consistently improved with each outing. He also highlighted how precise and composed Jack appeared in his most recent fight, showing a level of sharpness that can make a difference against a top opponent.
Bright future. I don't know whether he's going to hold the belt or, he's going to lose it to another one of the top contenders and then pick it back up again. I don't think he's going to lose it to Makhachev though. I think Makhachev holds the lightweight belt against anybody in the world, on any day, including Ilia Topuria. I don't think if he moved up, he would have much success against Makhachev. But Della Maddalena looked very, very sharp against Balal. And I wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight, whether he would look as strong and as lean or whether he would look heavier and, potentially gas himself out because he'd be stepping straight into a 5-round fight, wouldn't he?
Why do you feel that he beats Islam?
I just wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight. It is a big step up from one weight class to another. And
Hardy expressed some reservations about Islam moving up a weight class. He questioned how well Islam's body would adapt to the added size and whether the conditioning that made him so dominant at lightweight might present challenges at welterweight.
Just sometimes the discipline that he would have to get him down to 155 and the extra conditioning he would do is partly what makes him so formidable. And I wonder if moving up to welterweight and giving himself that extra 15 pounds to kind of, just be, he's going to gain some muscle mass or even some additional weight that he may not necessarily need and might actually impede him in a 5-round fight, especially. Because, like you said, Della Maddalena, he showed some weaknesses in the Gilbert Burns fight. He showed some big improvements in the Balal fight. You've got to think that trajectory is going to continue on and he's going to be better again the next time around. And obviously now with the confidence that he's the champ.
That wraps up today's breakdown. Be sure to stay tuned for more updates, and we'll catch you next time.